Hi there, my name is Bryn Cole, and I live in a part of California known as the Monterey Bay. And I moved here about 3 years ago. And I've been born and raised in California my whole life. And I basically met somebody at my work of Trader Joe's who was an avid surfer. And so from then, I picked up surfing through him because he loved it and I wanted to learn to love it. And even though I'm from California, the place that I'm from, I never lived in an area where surfing was really much of anything. And so it wasn't until I moved to the Monterey Bay that I really picked it up and I learned everything that comes along with it. It's actually a very, very difficult sport, and one that they say is actually one of the hardest sports to learn due to the varying conditions and the amount of skill involved. So, one of the best surfers in the world is actually named Kelly Slater, and this is a picture of him. And people say that he's getting old, and then that means that he's nearing. I think he's about in his 40s, and so they think that he's kind of reached his prime, and that he's kind of heading downhill. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is that if you live in an area where surfing is um, a viable option for you, then the first thing that you would want to do would be to get a wetsuit and a board. So where I live, the water's actually really, really, really cold. And so I have a full wetsuit, and this is a hood attached to it. So it's the full wetsuit and the hood. And I actually wear booties too, because generally the water's about 50 to 60 degrees, which is freezing. And even though you're out there and you're exercising and you're paddling, it's really not enough. And so once you have a wetsuit, the second thing you're gonna want to get at least is a board. So I started with a Wavestorm, which is something you can buy at Costco for about $100. And this is my Wavestorm. It's about 8 feet. So the first thing that you're gonna want to do is that you're gonna want a board generally that is about 7.5 to 8 feet. You're gonna want to start with a long board because short boards are really, really difficult. And so the longer the board, the easier it is, the more it's easier to float and paddle and maintain because shortboards are very wily. Like they just move all over the place, and shortboarding is actually really, really difficult. So first thing you're going to want to do is probably get a longboard. Wavestorm, like me, the one that I have is very, very good. So the next thing you're going to want to do is determine the conditions of the surfing that of the area that you live in. So for me, I'm very lucky. I have several beaches. To be honest, though, none of the beaches that I live near are really made for beginners. So I live near the Del Monte Wharf, and some of the waves come intermittently, and they're relatively small. But unfortunately, unless everywhere else is really, really big, there's no surfing at the wharf. So I have Asilomar and South Moss and the wharf, also Lover's Point, but a lot of the waves are really, really big. And even though you get in the water, and it may seem small, once you get in the water, it's pretty gnarly. And so the first you're gonna want to ask locals or look on Surfline. So Surfline is a key thing for any surfer. You can get an app for it to teach you about the conditions of any area that you're living in, and how to best like suit your needs. So surfing is actually really, really difficult, as I mentioned, and basically it takes about 3 months of continual practice in order to really do much of anything. So once you have a wetsuit, if you live in a cold area, and a board, and just some basic surfing etiquette, you're going to want to learn, and find a beginner beach if you can, because anything beyond that is it's a lot. And so basically some tips that I could give would be just get in the water as much as you can, as often as you can. Just get in the water. Don't expect to learn it all right away. It's basically like learning the violin. You don't really enjoy it basically after you learn all the basics. And so paddling is key. Sometimes you can just get in and paddle, which means that you're going to want to properly position yourself on the board, so you're not your nose of the surfboard, the top of the surfboard is not in the water, but you're not out of the water, so it's positioned just right. And then basically when you're paddling, picture a beach ball underneath your chin, and then you're just reaching and reaching, and you do deep, long paddles, not too far, not too close to the body, but just long, smooth strokes. And the next thing you're going to want to do is learn how to time the wave. So timing the wave is critical, because if you get up too soon, you're going to miss the wave, and if you get up too slow, you won't catch it at all. And so some basic tips that I would give you is just to watch some videos. I learned a lot from watching YouTube videos, and just don't expect to learn it all right away. It's a really difficult sport. Kind of an expensive one, but basically once you've bought everything that you need, it lasts forever. And some basic surfing etiquette is just to be nice in the water, be kind, and there's always a right of way. So wherever the wave is breaking, whoever has the right of way is whoever is closest to the break on the right or left side of the wave. And yeah, so I would just get out there as often as you can, and don't expect to learn it all at once. It's a really difficult sport, but it is one of the most incredible feelings. So thank you. Hope this was helpful at all.